Good evening and welcome to the Marin Women's Hall of Fame. I'm Janet Childers. I'm here with Hilda Castillo, 2003 Marin Women Hall of Fame inductee in the area of environmentalism. Hilda, I know it's said about you that you really understand what it means to think globally and act locally. This has been a long-time passion of yours.
Yes.
How was it that you became interested and indeed so passionate about environmentalism?
When I was a child, I grew up in an environment that my parents paid attention to taking care of the environment and doing things like recycling and reusing and reducing at that time when the environment really wasn't the main topic. And so I learned so many things from them that was my first motivation.
Amazing. They really were a little unusual then.
Very unusual.
Where was it that you were born?
I was born in Venezuela, in my beautiful Venezuela.
Yes. Born in Venezuela and raised there?
Yes, yes. I came to the United States when I was already an adult with my 2 kids.
So all your growing up years, the experience and the example of your parents, what is it, do you suppose, that made them interested in making this kind of a commitment or living that kind of a discipline?
You know, to be honest with you, I think that was something natural in them. I don't think they were thinking we need to do this because we will be protecting the environment. I think that was a natural thing to do. And for example, I remember my father reusing the bag for the groceries. He used to go to the farmer market early in the morning every Sunday to buy the fruit, vegetables, and fruit for the family. And sometimes I love it to go with him at 6 o'clock in the morning. And one of the things that I remember is when we came back, he put the fruits and vegetables in the refrigerator, and then he folded the bag, put it away, and he reused the same bag the following week or the following Sunday. And so I observed him doing that, but as a normal thing. That wasn't something that I was thinking, oh, my father is an environmentalist. No, that was a normal thing for him to do that.
When we were young, I think I remember hearing people use a word like conservation. I don't know if they had that word or other similar words in Venezuela when you were growing up.
Well, an environment in Spanish is el medio ambiente. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was something that, seeing my mother, for example, taking care of the plants, she loved plants, and that was part of the medio ambiente, keeping the medio ambiente beautiful, clean, and green, and so she loved plants, and she was taking care of them, and my passion for taking care of my plants come from my mother, for example.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering about your family. Were there brothers and sisters that you grew up with?
You're not going to believe this. I have 5 sisters and 6 brothers.
Oh, a large family.
My mother and my father had 10. But my mother raised my father's first child, and then it seems that it wasn't enough for her that she adopted another one. Yes. Oh. And that is how we became 12.
A 12-person family.
But you know what? I love it. I love my brothers and my sisters, and my childhood was so beautiful because I was around so many people, loving people, and I think that is one of the reasons I feel I have been a happy person.
Because you grew up in that kind of a large, happy household.
I think so.
Yes, many brothers and sisters.
I have so many beautiful memories of my childhood.
Yes, I imagine. Growing up in a lively household, going to school in Venezuela, where, as you look back now, were there some influences in those early years that you can see set you on this path, caused you to become the person you've become?
You know, I think my parents were so much into our education that education for me never was an issue. And I remember when I was a child, I think I already knew I wanted to become a teacher. I repeat this story, I have repeated this story so many times, but I remember that I used to play with my girlfriends, and I always wanted to be the teacher. I never allowed them to be the teacher. Yes, I was the teacher all the time, and they had to listen to me. And there was one day that my mother asked me, when I was going to high school, she asked me, well, what do you want to be? And immediately I said to her, I want to be a teacher. And that is what I became.
So this interest in education was very clear from the beginning, part of your family and part of you. How did the interest in bilingual education and bilingual education that has to do with environmentalism begin to develop?
Yes. I came to live in this country a couple of years ago, or many years ago, 22 years ago. And I noticed how important was bilingual education, because I came as an adult to learn a new language. My two boys had to go to school to learn a language, English in this case. And I know how difficult it was for me. I is still learning English. It was very difficult as an adult to learn a new language. And then my two boys, it was hard, it was difficult. And so at that time, I realized that bilingual education was so important. And there was a time that I was called by this environmentalist organization to develop the bilingual environmental education program. And I did it.
Yes. But there were many steps that got you to that sort of important moment of taking on that work.
Definitely.
And I'm very interested in this bilingual step. As you say, it's not easy.
It is not easy because you already have your brain adjusted to one language, and you think, in my case, that Spanish is my first language. I taught in Spanish, and when I was learning English, I was processing all the time before I talk or say anything, translate it in my brain. And always been afraid to make mistakes, or being afraid of people don't understanding my pronunciation. So it was hard. It was very, very hard.
Yeah. You know, many people struggle with learning a second language, and not everybody succeeds. What do you think drove you to be able to do it?
I am very persistent, very. And I like to be successful. And I work hard and hard and harder if I had to reach my goal. And my goal, one of my goals has been to communicate with people in English, because I'm living in this country, and to have a good pronunciation, and to be sure that people understand when I talk.
I'm guessing it didn't happen overnight.
It doesn't. It takes time. It takes a long time.
Would you say some years of working on it, or what would you say?
Oh, I am still working on it.
I can't tell. Your English is so beautiful.
Thanks. Thank you for saying that.
So you are now working with the Headlands Institute?
Yes.
Yes, and you work in bilingual environmentalist education.
Yes, I'm the director of the bilingual education
So I'm just
program.
picturing that moment from the time that you came to this country and began studying English to the time that you took this wonderful position, doing this important work that you do now. There must have been several chapters in between.
Yes, and when I came to the United States, I came as an international student, and of course to study English first, and then to pursue my master's degree in education. By the time when I came, I already had my teaching credential, or I hold my teaching credential, and I was a journalist. And so I decided to pursue my higher education and getting my master's degree in education. And then I work in different fields before I became to work for the Helens Institute. And helping my community, helping women, helping children, and especially Latina women and Latino children, because I know they need a lot of help. And especially Latino, not only the teenagers, but the older women who are trying, as I had, very hard to survive in this culture. And so I have been, that has been part of what I have done, and doing a lot of work helping my community.
As you look back across these years, especially your working years and maybe your teenage years when you were still working on your education, are there particular people, I know we talked about your parents, but are there particular people who you would say helped you along the way or pointed you down this path?
I had to say that my mother was the woman, my mother. And she was very strong. And one of the things that I admire her was the way how she encouraged us, me and my sister and my brother, to always reach your goals, to always work hard to reach what you wanted to do or what you wanted to get. And so my mother has been my role model.
Yes. And so many of us in education can think of teachers also that have been helpful to us down through the years.
Thank you for reminding me that.
Yeah.
I think I have been a very lucky woman. I think I had the most wonderful teachers, not only in elementary school, but in high school and even at the university. But I'm glad that you say that. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I remember one of my teachers, and I remember her name, Margarita Centeno. She was my 4th grade teacher. She was wonderful. She was wonderful, and she always motivated me and encouraged me at all levels. Yeah. And so
it's not surprising on that day in high school when your mother said to you, "What do you want to be?" You said, "A teacher."
I admire her so much. She was wonderful. And probably she also contributed in my desire to become a teacher.
I'm also thinking that over the course of the years that you've been working toward this, that there must have been some rather significant challenges. Can you tell us a little bit about some challenges and how you overcame them to get to this position?
I think, yes, I think we all go through those sad moments in our life. And one of them was when my mother died. Yes. And it was hard, but I overcome that.
And if you were talking to a young woman now who is facing that challenge, what kind of advice would you give her?
Be strong, keep going, and life is beautiful. And the fact that that person is gone, that doesn't mean that the love for that person ends. That love will continue.
Yeah.
And that will be my advice.
Yes. And if you were talking to that same young woman about why environmentalism is important in the early 21st century, what kinds of things would you most want her to understand?
That we really need to do a lot to protect our environment. There are so many things happening that we are damaging, really, our beautiful planet. And if we don't do something, the natural resources are not going to be there forever. And the contamination, the ocean has been contaminated. We need the water. We need to do something. We need to do something to stop the damage that we are doing to our planet.
Yes. So instilling in the young generation how precious the resources are.
Exactly.
And do you find that they respond?
I think so. I do believe that.
What have you learned over the years about how to get through to young people about this?
When I teach, I can see the reactions. I can see the interest they put in learning. For many of them, this is something new, especially when I'm working with newcomers, students. Sometimes because the language barrier, they don't have access to environmental education. And so that is one of the reasons why I consider bilingual education so important, because through bilingual environmental education, they can have access to environmental education and their own language. And so for many of them, it is the first time that they are learning about the environment and how to protect it, and to see the enthusiasm and their interest. That gives me hope.
What is the most satisfying thing about the work that you're doing now with children in bilingual and environmental education?
To know that people are learning about the environment, that people are having that opportunity, and I do what I do with a lot of passion, and that I believe that I'm making changes in the life of those students.
Do they actually get involved in projects?
Oh yes.
What
In
kinds of
activities,
things?
A lot of activities, different projects. For example, they can create their own garden in the backyard of their school. They can plant trees, and they can organize a club. The Youth Protecting the Environment Club, for example. They can educate their parents about the environment. They can contribute in their community to make their community a better community. There are so many things that they can do.
I'm thinking about these children now, and I know you have a chance every day to influence their lives. But let's just say if a group of young men and women came to you and asked for your best advice for a happy life, given this life that you have lived so far, as you look back over it, what kind of advice would you want to give them? What should they do to become like you? What should they do to have a happy life?
Believe in your dreams. Dreams a lot, and dreams high. And work toward reaching or work toward making those dreams to come true. But you have to work. And sometimes you have to work hard to make those dreams to come true.
Yeah.
And I believe that that would happen, because that has been my case.
It has been your case, both the high dreaming and the really hard work.
Oh, definitely.
I think for many children in the United States, dreaming high is not that hard. But working, it can be difficult.
Yes.
Are there things that you would like to tell them about your experiences with perseverance?
You know, when you want to get to the point that you want, you have to start in point A, and sometimes you have to go through point B, C, D, and probably F to get to the point where you want to get. And sometimes you have to work very hard just to go there. And believe on that. Be persistent.
I hear you saying small steps,
Yes,
one step
yes,
after another.
exactly.
And did you ever go from C back to A and then back to C again? Did you ever have setbacks? Can you think of an example of a time when you really had to force yourself to persist?
I think I have been there a couple of times.
A couple of times.
Yes, and I think believing that you were going to reach your goal is what has helped me.
I'm thinking about the fact that you have a heart for young women who might be coming up following in your footsteps, and that you've also raised 2 boys. How old were your boys when you came to the United States?
One was 14 years old, and the other one was 12.
So these boys are grown up now.
Yes, and I came as a single mother. Yes, it was not easy. It was very hard being in a new culture or in a different culture, and going to school and raising my 2 boys was difficult. But you have to overcome obstacles. You can't let obstacles to stop you.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, I am a single mom, I have a child, or I had 2 kids, I can go to work, or I can go to school. No, if you want to do it, you will do it.
So you say to young people who are listening to you, circumstances from their lives that are difficult, you say to them, find a way.
Yes, yes, and do it. Do it. Don't stop. Don't let anything to stop you. That is my advice.
Yeah. Were there people who gave you good advice like that as you were in school and in your early working years?
Do you know that one of my child told me one day, Mother, I have noticed something about you. You are very selective with your friends. All your friends are great people, educated people, professionals, and people with good heart. How do you do that? And my response to him was, I always look for people from whom I can learn something good.
Isn't that an interesting secret of success in life, to choose your friends well?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Stay away from trouble people. It doesn't help.
Choose people that you can learn from.
Definitely.
Isn't that interesting that your own child would notice that you are selective about your friends?
And I was fascinated when he asked me that question, because I didn't know. I don't think I was aware that I was doing that. I thought that there was a natural thing on me, but after he asked me that question, I realized that is true. That is what I do. I am very selective with my friends, and my friends have to be very special people.
This is a great insight and wonderful advice, I think, to pass on to the next generation. Because even as we're talking, we know that there are some young women listening to us right now who are thinking about what they should do with their lives. Why would you tell them that they need to learn a second language and they need to maintain this discipline, this commitment to environmentalism?
Because my own experience. Because my own experience, thanks that I am bilingual, thanks that I am an educated person, thanks that I pursued my higher education, thanks that I went to the university, and I pushed myself. So many times I push myself. You will do it. You have to do it, and so that
Yes.
got me there.
It's your witness. It's your testimony.
Yes.
Yes.
And I had to tell them, work harder. Don't let anything to stop you, and fulfill your dreams.
Yeah. What great advice for the next generation. We thank you for being a role model, and we thank you for being with us today, and we congratulate you again on being an inductee to the 2003 Marin Women's Hall of Fame.
Thank you very, very much. I have been very honored. I have been very happy with the honor.